possibly, yes. She's a rhythm shooter. She starts feeling a couple go in.
They called it the highest stage of women's basketball, the WNBA Finals. Two top-level teams, championship pride on the line, elite players at every position. Yet when Aya Wilson and Diana Taurasi walked onto the floor, they were not welcomed by loud cheers, but by large sections of empty seats rising into the arena. It was a clear and uncomfortable image of a league struggling. What was meant to be a moment of celebration instead felt like a warning. The finals revealed a hard reality the WNBA could no longer avoid. The league's success had never truly stood on its own. Without one star, Caitlin Clark, the building felt empty and lifeless.
Cup final today in the W. You see no Caitlin Clark's out with a groin injury for the third straight game for the Fever as they take on.
The excitement disappeared, and the thin illusion of growth began to fall apart. What does it mean when an entire league's future depends on a single player? And what does that reveal about the condition of women's basketball today? When the lights faded during the most important games of the season, the questions became impossible to ignore. As the WNBA Finals approached, excitement should have been reaching its peak. Two well-known franchises were preparing to fight for a title. The Las Vegas Aces arrived as defending champions with one of the most dominant players the league has ever seen. The Connecticut Sun came in with their own stars and a strong desire to finally win it all. Everything needed for a great story was in place. This should have been must-watch television for fans of the sport. Then people looked at ticket prices, and excitement quickly turned into shock. Finals tickets were selling for as low as $30. Not bad seats tucked away or blocked views, but solid seats with a clear look at the court where history was supposed to happen. $30 for a championship game. That price spread across social media and became a joke almost instantly.
Player made an average base salary of $9.7 million. That's a huge pay disparity. It has been a long-standing challenge.
People who had never followed a WNBA game before were posting screenshots and asking how something like this could happen. How could the championship of a professional league be worth less than a normal night out for dinner? The prices showed a harsh truth about the market. There simply was not enough demand. Despite months of media coverage describing the WNBA as a growing league, despite constant talk of momentum and mainstream attention, the number of fans willing to pay for finals basketball had vanished. Ticket websites showed open seats in nearly every section of every arena. Premium seats that should have sold out long before the finals were still available, waiting for buyers who never came. The resale market, which usually drives prices higher for championship games, had completely fallen apart. Resellers who expected strong demand were now trying to sell tickets at losses. Analysts pointed to the one reason league officials avoided saying out loud. Caitlin Clark was not in the finals. The Indiana Fever had already been eliminated.
To the WNBA now, and Fever star Caitlin Clark will not play in tonight's game on the road against the New York.
And with her exit went the huge audience that had followed every step of Clark's rookie season. Her games regularly delivered television ratings far higher than anything the league had experienced before. Arenas that normally struggled to fill seats suddenly sold out the moment the Fever arrived. Merchandise sales surged. Social media activity exploded. All of it was connected to one player who had managed to turn women's basketball into must-watch entertainment for millions of casual viewers. When she was gone, those casual fans vanished as well. They did not turn into long-term WNBA supporters. They did not build interest in other teams or players. They were watching for Clark alone and had no desire to follow games she was not playing in. The finals made this reliance painfully obvious. The momentum built during the regular season disappeared the instant its central star was eliminated. The finals were left empty. Aya Wilson had spent her entire career chasing moments like this. Years of grinding through seasons with little attention. Years of fighting for respect that rarely came. Years of trusting that elite performance would one day be rewarded. She entered the finals as league MVP, one of the most dominant players the sport had ever seen.
Wilson elevates and drops it in over Kalani Brown's extended arm.
She was ready to defend her championship in what should have been a loud, electric arena. Instead, what she saw shook her. During warm-ups before Game 1, Wilson lifted her eyes from the court and looked around. Row after row of empty seats, red cushions clearly visible no matter where the cameras pointed. A finals environment that felt closer to a routine regular season game against a weak opponent. The player who had carried her team all year, who had performed at a level few athletes ever reach, was preparing for the biggest game of her career in front of a crowd that felt uncomfortably small. "Guys," she said quietly, the words that would define the series. "This is the finals." The disbelief in her voice was clear. This was not entitlement from a star demanding praise. It was honest shock from an athlete realizing how far reality fell short of what she had earned. Diana Taurasi reached the same conclusion in her own straightforward way.
Scoring leader, Diana Taurasi.
Going for that 50-50 ball.
Taurasi!
One of the greatest players in WNBA history, a veteran who had witnessed every stage of the league's journey, looked at the empty seats and immediately understood their meaning. All the talk about growth, progress, and finally being respected disappeared when faced with evidence that could not be ignored. The league's biggest stage was drawing crowds that would have been disappointing even for a quiet weekday night game. Taurasi, speaking after the game, did not hide behind safe or polite answers.
The GOAT is with Holly.
Well, there's about 4 seconds left in the game, and your bestie, Sue Bird, rises up for a three.
Her words carried the weight of someone who had waited years for this moment. You work your entire career for moments like this, and you just hope people care enough to show up. That single line summed up decades of frustration. The constant battles for better facilities, better salaries, better coverage, and basic respect. All of it was supposed to lead to a future where women's basketball finally received the attention it deserved. Instead, the championship, the highest point of the league, was played in front of scattered fans inside an arena that was not even especially large. The contrast with the regular season was impossible to ignore. When Caitlin Clark played, arenas were packed, TV ratings jumped, and social media was filled with highlights, arguments, and viral clips. Mainstream sports media actually paid attention. Without her in the finals, that attention disappeared. Social media engagement was flat. National coverage was weak. Clips that normally spread everywhere faded into silence. It felt as if the sports world had collectively decided the championship did not matter. Then came the number that said everything. 96% said they would not watch. Polls showed that when fans were asked if they planned to watch the finals, 96% said no. 96%. A title series between two strong teams with real stars and real history was being ignored by nearly everyone who had followed the league earlier in the season. The remaining 4% were treated almost like rare exceptions, fans willing to watch something most people had already dismissed. Those poll results spread widely, not because people were excited, but because the rejection itself was shocking. Commentators who normally ignored the WNBA suddenly talked about it again.
Our Rich Nye joins us live tonight, where the announcers were just named the best in the WNBA. Hi, Rich.
But the attention came only because the failure was dramatic enough to be interesting. The story was no longer about championship basketball. It was about a league that had mishandled its biggest moment so badly that the collapse became the headline. The connection to Caitlin Clark's absence was impossible to deny. During the regular season, her games produced television audiences that broke every previous record. Fever games regularly outperformed the rest of the league combined. Arenas that had struggled for years suddenly sold out when Indiana visited. The financial reality was clear. Clark was not just another popular player. She was the main force driving fan interest across the entire league. Speculation about what finals ratings would have looked like if Clark had been there became a constant topic. Many believed tickets would have started at $300 if the Fever had reached the finals. Courtside seats might have climbed to $5,000.
Sky faced off against the Indiana Fever right here in Chicago today.
The arenas would have been full, with energy matching the importance of the moment. Social media would have been flooded with highlights, debates, and the kind of natural excitement that marketing campaigns cannot create. None of that happened because the player fans actually wanted to watch had already been eliminated. This created a deeply uncomfortable situation that league officials tried hard to avoid discussing. For years, the WNBA had promoted stories about competitive balance, rising stars across many teams, and a league product that deserved attention no matter who was playing. The finals exposed those ideas as hopeful messaging rather than reality. Fans were not following the WNBA as an institution. They were following Caitlin Clark. Remove her, and the audience disappeared with her. It was that simple and that painful. League executives tried to sell the finals as a battle between historic franchises with meaningful storylines. The Aces defending their title. The Sun chasing their first championship. Veteran stars looking for legacy-defining moments.